Shalom. First and foremost, giving all acknowledgement to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, and giving double honors and much respects into the men in whom I learned this truth from, beginning with the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. All right, and in light of the situation that's going on in Lebanon right now, with that explosion that just took place, supposedly, it was over something about a factory or a boat or something that had a lot of fireworks supposedly and caught fire. But nevertheless, this video clip just played. This was this it took place during that whole fiasco, right? And just had me meditating on how suddenly things could, on how Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, he can move, and just like that, here it is. You had this woman. See what this caption says. I guess it was this bride. She was taking photo shoots for her wedding, or whatever the case may be, and sure enough, that explosion that took place, pretty much, it rained on her parade, and again, just had me meditating on the scriptures because, we're living in times, when you read the book of Matthew, the 24th chapter, which is, we're currently living in that chapter. The apostles, they asked the apostles, they asked Yahushai, what would be the signs of his coming? Because, it was always prophesied that, there would be a Messiah, to come out of the loins of King David, and, this Messiah, he would deliver the children of Israel and, establish the kingdom, basically. So it was always prophesied. Our forefathers, they knew these things. They knew the scriptures. And sure enough, when Yahushai walked on the scene during the time of the Roman Empire, a lot of our forefathers, they thought that would be the time that they thought that would be the time, that prophecy will be fulfilled concerning the, this Messiah coming to deliver the children of Israel and establishing the kingdom. But that wasn't the time, and Yahushua told this, he told the disciples these, he told them these things, because again, the apostles, they asked him, well, since that's not, since that being, it wasn't the time then when Yahushua walked the earth, that wasn't the time. They asked him what will be the times. And again, when you read the book of Matthew, the 24th chapter, pretty much it will show you, pretty much gave us a list of all the signs that would take place, and let's go there real quick, because the thing being, let me just get it. And, the book of Matthew, the 24th chapter, and I'm just get this real quick. I'll start at verse 1, and it says, and Yahushua went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And Yahushua said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these signs be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? So you see, the apostles, they, because they were tired of the, being under basically, just how we are now, those in the right frame of mind, we're tired of being in this captivity. We're tired of being under this oppression. Our forefathers back then, they were tired as well, and but all in all, again, they were asking Yahushua, when would be the end of the world, because at the end of the day, we just want the kingdom, at the end of the day, we desperately we want the kingdom. We're tired of this place, But nevertheless, the apostles asked this question, and Yahushua told them. Verse 4 says, And Yahushua answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Hamashiach, and shall deceive many. All right. But basically, I'm not going to get into the whole chapter, but, it goes on to talk about the wars and rumors of wars. All right. All these individuals coming up saying that they're the anointed one and things of this nature. But pretty much this is because like I said, this whole chapter, we're living in those times, even with this whole thing with the this explosion over there in Lebanon, because there supposedly, it was like I said, it was from some fireworks or whatever the case may be. But when you look at the devastation and that, the actual explosion, because it doesn't, personally, the aftermath, and when you look at the aftermath, it definitely does, it don't look like no explosion. All these videos, showing the explosion, definitely looks like some type of bomb went off, which it's kind of like a Norman Omen, and how about this, I'm gonna do a video on that. But nevertheless, this could have it could have been a planned psyop. It could have been an attack. Who knows? Just keep paying attention and watching out for it. But nevertheless, sticking to the point, these will be the signs. All right. These are the signs that we're living in when you read this whole chapter. But let me jump down to Slack, yeah. I'm gonna jump down to verse 37. Because being that we are living in the last days, we are living in the end. You got a lot of people. When it comes to the signs, because Yahweh Shemel Shai, he always before the destruction, he always sends the signs. And you always have those people. They're not going to pay attention to the signs. You got the prophets. They've been giving out the warnings for years and for decades. But now, more so than ever, these signs, they're jumping off the book. These prophecies are, they're jumping off the pages, But again, nevertheless, you got individuals, they're not taking heed. They're not preparing and getting themselves ready. There's a scripture in the Apocrypha that talks about how pretty much, the Lord sends these things for what does it say? Basically he sends these warnings out, to let people know that he's working. But again, people don't take into consideration that this is the power of Yahweh Shem Shai. And sure enough, when you read verse 37, it says, "But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be." And what took place during the time of Noah, when you read the account and you read the history, Noah, he was out there, he was prophesying, he was warning the people, telling the people, it was going to rain. But, sure enough, you had those individuals back then, which, they're back today, the same individuals today, not taking heed and not paying attention. It was it was the same individuals back then. This is why, they even say in the world, history repeats itself, because it's the same spirits coming back, So, again, during the time of Noah, Noah was prophesying, he was telling the people, he was warning the people, it was going to rain. The people, they thought he was crazy. They looked at him funny because it never happened, up to the point where the ark was sealed and it started to rain, never rained before. When you read in Genesis, it talks about how, the Lord, he sent up a mist throughout the earth. That was because back then that was how, pretty much, that's pretty much how the earth was moisturized. The dew of heaven. The same thing that you see today in the early morning when you go outside and it's all foggy and wet and moist. But back then, prior to the flood, there was no such. It never rained before. So when Noah, told them, when he told them he was trying to warn them of these things, they didn't believe him. They didn't take heed. People, when you read on the verse 38, it says, "For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark." So you see, just like in this video, this chick, let's play this again. I'll play it one more time. So you see that? This woman, like I said, from what it appears, she was doing a little photo shoot for her wedding, getting ready for her wedding and everything, and this incident, it happened, just like in the days of Noah, where I just read the scripture. People, they were eating and drinking, they were marrying and giving in marriage, and like I said, it's like it's like a nomen omen, a small prelude to what's about to come to America, man. Because even with all the signs going on right now, people are still not taking heed. They're not, preparing themselves. They're not getting ready. People today, they're still marrying and giving in marriage. People are still drinking and partying and living it up, And, scriptures tell you that, that day is going to catch a lot of people off guard, It just has me meditating on these things, like Ecclesiastes 3, I'll start at verse 1 where it says, "To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven." All right, because there's a time for everything. All right. Um, what you see going on today, people are trying to build their careers. They're trying to establish themselves in a society. They're trying to settle down and get a family and all these things. Though, for the most part, you know, um, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being in, having that mindset, so to say, but more so, this is not the time and place for that, because all it brings is, all it brings forth is getting comfortable in this captivity, you know, and that's exactly what this place is. It's captivity, you know. So this is not the time to be, trying to settle down and get married and, start up a family and all these other things, because, like the apostles, they, those that dropped everything, and they followed Yahushua, and later on down the road, they asked Yahushua, well, pretty much, we left everything. What are we going to get for leaving everything, and it's a good question. And, Yahushua told him, pretty much, in the kingdom, you're going to get everything that you gave up in this world and then some. You're going to get it better. You're going to get it back and better. So this is why, this is not the time to be focusing on all that stuff, because this is not the time for it. As it just right here, there's a season, there's a time for everything. And this is not the time to be, um, you know, um, living in mirth and getting comfortable and complacent in this place, because this is not our rest, man. When you read on down, well, I'll just read on down, starting with, back at verse 2. It says, "A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance." So you see right there, that right there in verse 4, it says there's a time to weep and there's a time to laugh. There's a time to mourn and a time to dance. And again, this is not the time to be, laughing and dancing and, being in a merry spirit. Why? Because again, this is where we're living in the land of our captivity, and anyone in their right mind, we should be tired of this place. Every day you got to go to work, working 2-3 jobs to barely make ends meet, and even if you have a so-called good and stable job, or whatever the case may be, because one thing you got to understand, it was never meant for us to be, it was never meant for us to work a day in our lives, it was never meant for us to, to be in a situation that we were in, where we had to, make payments, it was never meant, set up for us to be like this, because again, when you before Adam fell, way back in the garden, we didn't have to work for anything. Pretty much everything, it was given to us. And that's what we look forward to, and that's why it's important not to get comfortable in this society, in the land of our oppression and our captivity. And this is why, this is a time of weeping. This is a time of mourning. When you read on down in verse did I pass it? because there's a scripture that tells you, where is that? Let me try Ecclesiastes 7. Yep, Ecclesiastes 7 and verse 2. It says, "It is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting, for that is the end of all men, and the living will lay it to his heart." So you see, it's better to be in a house of mourning. It's better to be in a position where you just constantly, you're tired and you're frustrated. You want this place to be done with and over with. It's better to be in that type of mind frame than rather than being in the position, the mind frame of mirth, of joy, partying and living it up. That's what it talks about when it says a house of feasting. Verse 3 says, "Sorrow is better than laughter, for by the sadness of the countenance the heart is made better." So you see, because again, as I've read previously, there's a season and there's a time for everything, and this is not the time to be, getting married and living your best life and being all, that the whole joy to the world type spirit. This is not the time for that. This is a time of mourning, heartbreak, sorrow, mourning. We want to get the hell out of here. When you read verse 4, it says, "The heart of the wise is in the house of mourning." So you see that? Because again, it's just better to be in a house of mourning. The scriptures tell you, let me read on verse. Verse 4. It says, "But the heart of the fools is in the house of mirth." So you see that, with everything that's going on right now, quarantine and the dollar about to collapse, and the upcoming famine, you would be a fool to be, in the mind frame of joy and mirth, still trying to make something of yourself in the society, with everything that's going on right now, clearly, Yahweh Shem Shai, he's showing the signs, of this place going down, but yet you're still in the mind frame of, pretty much, things getting better in the society. You're a fool if you think that anything's going to get better. All right. When you read verse 7, it says, "Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, and the gift destroyeth the heart." So you see that? Because the more you grow in wisdom, and I say this all the time to people I talk outside, just people, people that I know, the more you grow in this wisdom, the more you grow in this thing, the more you understand how things are, because it's not supposed to be. Like I said, like I mentioned earlier, and back in the garden, it wasn't we didn't have to work for anything. We didn't have to lift a finger. It was never meant for us to work and pay bills and all these things. But here you got people here, just because they might get a good job, and they're able to pay all their bills and whatnot. Oh, you might think you got it made, It was never meant for that. It was never set up for us to, it was never set up for it to be like that, and that's why I always meditate on scripture. It says, "Surely oppression maketh the wise man mad," because again, the more you grow in this thing, the more you understand how things aren't supposed to be. The more you get into this thing, the more you realize, how things are actually supposed to be, versus what they, how it actually is in the society. It makes you bitter, man. It can piss you off. And again, that's why it's better to be in a house of mourning rather than a house of feasting, because you're understanding how things aren't supposed to be the way that they are in a society, and it makes you cry out more to Yahweh Shem Shai, You know, damn nearly makes you impatient. You know, that's why the scriptures say, those in the right frame of mind, you're going to be praying for Yahweh Shemel to speed these things up, to speed these days up. So because again, we want to get the hell out of here. There's nothing to look forward to in the society other than death. So again, as far as, getting married and, establishing yourself in a society, having children and all these things, if it happens, it happens, but for the most part, scriptures tell you to, let me get that real quick. That's Colossians, I think that's the 3rd chapter, starting at verse 1. Colossians, look for this real quick. Where is that at? Oh yeah, I had it. Colossians chapter 3 and verse 2. It says, "Set your affection on things above, not on things on the earth." So you see, our main focus would be basically on the kingdom. All right, because that's where everything's going to be in righteous order. Everything's going to be set in this rightful state. Everything in this society, in this kingdom, everything's backwards. That's why, our mindset, we shouldn't be, focused on, establishing yourself in the society and all that stuff. You do what you do, to get by. But again, our main focus should be the kingdom at the end of the day. The hell with all the, all the things of this world and all the things of the society. Set your things on, set your affection on things above, the kingdom. Worry about the kingdom. Worry about, focus on getting the hell up out of here. Making your calling and election sure. The hell with this place. So I tell people, hey man, be in the house of mourning rather than the house of feasting. Cry out to Yahweh Shemel Shai so he can speed these days up and we can get the hell up out of here. So that's all, man. Go ahead and end it off there, giving all credit to Yahweh Shemel Shai and double honors to the men whom I learned this truth from, starting at the apostles, the elders of Great Millstone. Until next time, shalom.